Last episode we saw Khusrau Khan return to Delhi. Now, before we dive into the mystery of whether Khusrau Khan reverted to Hinduism or still stayed a Muslim, let's take a quick look at his career post return to Delhi from the southern campaigns and how he became Sultan Nasiruddin Khusrau Shah and ruled for a grand period of 4 months. That's right friends, 4 months, from April 1320 to September 1320. When Khusrau was in the southern campaigns, he had already started making schemes to overthrow and kill Mubarak Khilji, because Barani, the Muslim historian who by the way hated Khusrau, says that Khusrau hated being sodomized by Mubarak because Mubarak was kind of the bisexual gay person and he actively looked for a way to kill him. Now historians like Barani, because they were Turks, they hated all the recent Indian converts, the Hindu converts to Islam, because Islam and Christianity are very racist religions because they are imperialistic ideology. So they have got a very strict hierarchy, and right at the top of the hierarchy you got the Arabs, then you got the Persians, Turks, and even in that period the Indian converts, the Hindu converts were always looked down upon, the plum posts were denied to them, and so on and so forth. So Barani is very disparaging about Khusrau. Now Professor K.S. Lal says that Mubarak Khilji was alerted by some of his loyal military commanders who were with Khusrau on his southern campaign, such as Malik Tamar, who held the Jagir of Chanderi, Malik Tablaga, another commander. But on Khusrau's return to Delhi, Khusrau managed to kind of persuade Mubarak, and the Maliks were rewarded for their great loyalty by having their property confiscated and experiencing some pleasant jail time in Delhi. Khusrau was the Wazir or the Prime Minister, an extremely powerful post, and he was no wallflower. He was not a coward. He was a very capable and brave military commander as well. Plus, what happened was a lot of people who had experienced Mubarak's evil eye became Khusrau's supporters. I'll give you a small example. There was an officer called Bahauddin Dabir, and his wife was abducted and forcefully pushed into Mubarak's harem, and Mubarak had done this to a lot of people. So there was a wave of discontent seething against him. Khusrau was from Gujarat, probably from the Verawal region of Gujarat, and if you remember, he and his brother, so his brother after he was converted was named Hisamuddin. They were both converted to Muslims, but they still had a lot of relations in Gujarat who were Hindus. What Khusrau did was he summoned his relations who were still Hindus, and these were people from his jati in Gujarat. This jati has been called by the Muslim historians as Barwaris or Parwaris. Now for a long time, no one, including any of the British historians, had any clue who these Barwaris were, and they dismissed them as low-caste scavengers, low-caste scavengers, in modern terminology, Dalits and so on and so forth. And even Professor K.S. Lal is confused about their true identity, or was confused because he has passed away a long time back. I stumbled upon a fantastic explanation by Professor Ashirbadi Lal Srivastava, who in his book The Delhi Sultanate or the Sultanate of Delhi, I link both Professor Lal's and Professor Srivastava's books, which are freely available on the Internet Archive in the description box. So Professor Srivastava, what he did was he got in touch with one of his colleagues in Gujarat and he asked them, who are these Barwaris? And the colleagues told him straight away, so this is the Hindu Bharwad community who are traditionally herders. Now if you know anything of Gujarat, or if you have stayed in Gujarat for any point of time, you will straight away picture tall and tough men. So Bharwad, and there's an analogous community called the Rabaris. These are very tough people and you really don't want to mess with them because sometimes they double up as muscle men and do land grabbing, all those kinds of things, and they are strong Hindus. Professor Srivastava took the trouble, and he found out that these were Bharwads. So that's a very convincing, and I think there's a correct explanation to who these Bharwaris were. Khusrau smartly convinced Mubarak to let him build his own loyal force along with his brother Hisamuddin. This led to nearly 40,000 Bharwads gathering in Delhi, and their loyalty to Khusrau was absolute. Even though Khusrau and Hisamuddin had converted to Islam, like I said, 99% of the Bharwads were Hindus. Khusrau tried to bump off Mubarak when he was in a place called Sarsawa. It's near Saharanpur in Uttar Pradesh. But he had to back off as the whole army, the whole royal army was there. And what he decided was, we'll get rid of Mubarak in the palace, where there will be a small number of guards who can be dealt with relatively easily. Now, as per Ibn Battuta, see, for whatever his faults, he was a jihadi, rapist, etc., he was very honest in his observations. Khusrau convinced Mubarak to let the Bharwads into the palace in the night So in the night, entry was strictly restricted and controlled on the pretext of converting them to Islam, because the tradition in those days, especially by the sultans, was to offer new converts robes and gold ornament, especially if these converts were from a certain social standing like the Bharwats were. And every night 300 Bharwats moved within the castle grounds and they prepared for the final strike. Now a certain Qazi Ziauddin, who was the superintendent of the night security, he was distracted by Khusrau and his colleagues, and he was killed by an arrow fired by another Bharwat called Jahariya. And Jahariya was one of the key conspirators as well. The actual name of Jahariya is probably different, and this is the garbled Persian corruption of the name. The Bharwats then stormed the palace, and there was a scuffle with Mubarak where Khusrau almost came close to being killed, but Jahariya, bumped off Mubarak. So this happened on 26th April 1320. So friends, that's it for this time. The episode has already stretched a bit long, and I will tackle Khusrau's Hindu Garvapsi or reconversion, or did it really happen, or was he still a Muslim, in the next episode. So if you have liked this video, please be sure to share, like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Hari Om.